Drew, you killed this shit. Drew, you killed this shit.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode in the Four Corners of Wrestling. I am your host, Marshall, Mr. Soul Simmons. Before we get started, go ahead and like, subscribe, share this video, and we appreciate you as this is a 613 Faye production. So I'm saying what's up to my guys out there. What's up, fellas? Y'all ready?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. What up?
Always.
All right. Silver Spring by way of DC. Jose Cuevo, Blue Corner. What's happening, bro?
Quavo, you know what's happening, man. I'm out here ready to knock these Rudy Poo candy asses on their butts tonight. So let's see what happens.
Let's get it, baby. You know what I'm saying? From Landover, by way of Flair Country. Woo! Greenville, North Carolina. Red Corner Jay Will. What's up, baby?
What's going on, Marshall? Woo!
Man, I love that Ric Flair shit, man. I tell you, for starting the profiling. And then Mr. PipeBomb in the black corner. Man, it's Colin from DC. What's up, man?
I just wanted to say that I hate Quavo. I really hate him so much.
Feel the love, baby. Feel the love. And coming back to us, coming from the Raptors, you know what I'm saying? Healing from the pectoral injury, Mr. Muscle Man Rell, Silver Corner. What's up, baby? How you feeling?
I'm good. I'm swollen sexy, so I'm good. Let's get this show rolling.
All right, gentlemen. All right. We're about to jump right into it. As y'all know, it is Royal Rumble season. And since this is Throwback Thursday, we taking it back one time with the pay-per-view of the week. And this week, we went to Royal Rumble 98. And I like this one, you know what I'm saying? Iron Mike was in the house giving it up. You know, Mike's a big wrestling fan. And who doesn't love Mike Tyson? You know what I'm saying? But the match and the action started off with Goldust and Luna Vachon. I miss Luna. She was a good one. With Vader versus Vader, excuse me. Then we had special guest Sonny in a mini six-man tag match. And I was like, okay, totally forgot that WWF had the minis out that joint. All right. Then we had Ken Shamrock versus the Intercontinental Champion, The Rock. You know what I'm saying? Then we had LOD versus the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn. Then we had the Royal Rumble match. We saw Cactus Jack enter number 1. And Terry Funk, who was doing his Chainsaw Charlie persona, entered at number 2. You know what I'm saying? And the Rattlesnake came out the winner. But the main event for the night, The Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in a casket match. So yeah. I was feeling this joint, man. Like it took me back. Got to see Owen. Got to see Jim Cornette. I love Jim Cornette. You know what I'm saying? Jeff Jarrett, Double J, Honky Tonk Man, Triple H, China. Like you had some stars in this joint, man. It took me back. I enjoyed it. You know what I mean? I even got a kick out of JR talking about Odd Man Johnson coming in with them fucking earrings. Like, really, dude? Really? But it was entertaining to me. I liked it. But we're gonna go around the square circle and we're gonna see what the guys thought. So starting with you, Jose. Quavo, what you think about the 1998 Royal Rumble?
Oh, the 98 Rumble is definitely one. If you are a new school listener and you're checking out this show for the first time, the old school one, I'm telling you, you got to watch the 98 Rumble. Rocky is definitely one of the highlights for me in this one. But you also got a bunch of matches that do entertain. You got Vader against Goldust. You have, for those that just like watching lucha style wrestling or, enjoy the, funny quirks of wrestling, you got the 6-man tag match, with Sonny as the referee. Me personally, Sonny is a bombshell. I don't care what anyone says. but I'm gonna tell you this: it was slightly entertaining to watch. If you're into American style wrestling and you want to see big guys, I would shy away from it and I would skip to the next one. But you also have the Outlaws and Legion of Doom.
And they was the champs. Outlaws was the champs, I think it was.
Yeah, they're over here. I guess how do I describe it? They're over here showing us what tag team can do, elevated to another level. And I like how they had Legion of Doom and the combination. Now, overall, as a new school watcher, I did kind of like struggle watching it just because it's a different style of wrestling for me. But I did enjoy the match. And it did build up enough to get to the Royal Rumble, which was my main attraction for me. Like when I hear the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, I think I want to see a good Royal Rumble, and this Rumble, I'm telling you, it was definitely worth watching, bro, because you know, you got the rattlesnake, doing what he does.
And everybody was for his neck in this joint.
Oh yes, and I think that's the best part of the entire pay-per-view is that the build-up is we're looking for Austin. He's arrived, he's here, but everyone's looking for Austin. He's got a bounty on his head, as it were. So everybody's trying to keep Austin from making it to the ring, and then now Austin's in the ring. Come on, it's showtime. It's showtime.
Yeah.
But on top of that, to follow up with another match, the heavyweight title, the casket match, Taker and Shawn. I know now we can say we've seen great matches from Taker and Shawn. By far one of the best matches he's had in WrestleMania, in my opinion. But seeing this in a different light, it's like you got to also see the evolution of the matches that we've gotten in the 90s, and this is actually a really good match. So if you haven't seen this pay-per-view, definitely watch it if you're listening.
Shawn Michaels definitely put on a show in Taker that was very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I think that's when Shawn hurt his back, if I'm not mistaken, and it seemed like to me that was the theme of the night. You know what I mean? Because LOD, you know what I'm saying, my man, his back was messed up, and Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, they was attacking the back. And then you had Vader. Oh, man, that was a hot, it was the beginning in the first match. When he had Luna on his back and he did that Vader bomb, man, I lost my shit. Red Corner, what you think about the pay-per-view?
So I legit watched this in live action when I was younger. And to come back and watch this again, it was incredible. I enjoyed every second of it over again. So the Goldust and Vader match, honestly, a solid match. This was one of Vader's best matches in the WWF at the time. And it was he was a face and Goldust was the heel, and Goldust drew so much heat. If this was one of the WrestleManias where the people who were the heels, they drew so much heat for themselves as characters. The Rock versus Shamrock is one of the best examples. Rock was pulling some stunts out of his ass, cheap shots galore. He took the brass knucks, stole them, hit them, and then put it inside of Ken Shamrock's trunks, and then went after Ken Shamrock won the match. Rock was like, no, check him. Referee checks him, finds the nuts, and overturns the victory. Bro, legitimately, that was some Eddie Guerrero light cheat steal stuff before Eddie Guerrero got a chance to it. It was incredible to watch. Then Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, great heel work from them. And I've always been a fan of them because of the mic skills, mainly from Road Dogg. Billy Gunn, right. But the Rumble match and the heavyweight title match. Let's start with the heavyweight title match because we're all about the Rumble. The heavyweight title match, Shawn and Triple H, hands down one of my favorite matches of all time. Great storytelling. It kind of shows how Shawn, people have the argument that Shawn has never really beat someone clean. Beat Undertaker clean until later years. This was one of those matches where he won, but it was just totally entertaining. The spot where They both got thrown into the casket and were fighting each other, and you could see Shawn try to get out. And Undertaker drags him back into the casket. Like
Mhm.
they say, it's the small things. You see Shawn's face playing up, being drugged, like he's being drugged into hell, and he's scared for his fucking life.
Right.
Amazing match. Then Undertaker super power driving him into the casket. Oh, great. And then Kane ending it all. The casket's on fire. The
On
casket's on
fire.
fire. Hands down, one of the probably the best ending to a WrestleMania that I can remember from my childhood. I don't think any has
Mhm.
been that exciting of an ending. And then the Rumble match itself, Austin, a bounty on his head, people searching for him in the background. Bro, this
Mhm.
WrestleMania was intense. Sorry, Royal Rumble, it was intense.
Yeah.
I enjoyed every second rewatching it.
My man. And let's not forget my man Mick Foley. It was the night he entered 3 times. Remember, he came in as Mick Foley when he entered as Cactus Jack, right? Then he came back, I think, as Mankind. Then he came back out as Dude Love. Like, yeah, I was loving that shit.
all
Like
all
MVP.
three characters, all three characters. Let me just say, like there were wrestlers who were doing double work because like Rock and Shamrock wrestled earlier that night. Like dumb dudes got double checks, but Mick Foley himself triple check, my man.
Give me that triple check. What?
Triple check that show.
Ching ching, baby. Calling from DC, Black Quarter. What you think about Royal Rumble '98?
I mean, I thought it was great. I'm always interested in the stories that are like visually told as well as subliminally told in the ring. So basically, all of these matches had kind of a lot of extra stuff going on if you kind of paid attention to it. Goldust and Vader, it was what it was. That ending with Vader doing that splash off the top rope with Luna on his back was crazy. That was amazing. But as I was watching it, I was kind of sad because this is the natural Dustin Rhodes, and they have him kind of look like a freak show. He's this what he's wearing, and one time he dressed like Sable, his ass was hanging out. One time he was dressed like a baby, and they have this whole gimmick where he was desperate for attention, and it just kind of made me sad. I was like, 5 years ago, he's the natural Dustin Rhodes, and quote unquote, he's destined to be a future world champion, and this is what he's become. So I thought that was kind of crazy. It was like I was interested in the match, but I kind of felt bad for Dustin. The next was the minis match. All I could think about, the match was extremely interesting, but all I could think about was this is probably what Vince McMahon's petty ass, his interpretation of what cruiserweight wrestling is. I think he just thinks it's a bunch of guys in masks that jump around and throw themselves all over the place. So I feel like, in my eyes, he was like mocking WCW cruiserweight wrestling at the time.
There was a lot of tosses and flips.
A lot of tosses.
The littlest guy in the ring was tossing everybody around, and I was just like,
exactly. There was no rhyme or reason. I feel like, okay, hey, y'all want like cruiserweight wrestling? Here we go. We'll give you cruiserweight wrestling.
To me personally, I think it was just a reason to get Sonny out there for everybody.
Sure. I mean, I hear you. Shamrock versus Rocky was a good match. The match ended in a smart way. To Jay Will's point about how he had the nunchucks. He had the brass knucks in his in Shamrock's pants, and then basically he was like he cheated. It had Rocky come across as a very smart, effective heel. Shamrock snapped as usual. That's his whole thing. But it did right. Get out of my way. It showed you the balance that WWF at the time had to find, because Shamrock was a legitimate fighter, a former UFC champion, and was decent. He was decent in the ring, but Rocky had better qualities of what could be considered a superstar. So he had the look and the charisma and the mannerisms and the promos. So it was very fascinating to kind of see the dichotomy of like real world legitimacy versus professional wrestling legitimacy. Very interesting story to tell there. The Legion of Doom versus the Outlaws match was unintentionally interesting in hindsight. And by that I mean I didn't take the Outlaws seriously. That version, that early era of the Outlaws, I didn't take those niggas seriously at all. They were, a year ago, I think Billy Gunn was acting like, I think he was like Honky Tonk Man's apprentice, and Road Dogg was feuding with Jeff Jarrett over country music. So I didn't take them seriously at all. They were okay in the ring, but it wasn't anything to write home about. But the match ended in disqualification, But it was the interesting thing was it really was a passing of the torch, because of where both of those teams were at that point of their careers. You know, LOD is this historical, all-time legendary tag team, and the Outlaws were on the come up. So basically, after this match, LOD was damn near on their way out, and their careers were, you know, pretty much winding down. They were around for a couple more years, but they weren't as big as they used to be. And obviously, the Outlaws, they took off. And last, I got a couple of quick Rumble notes. Terry Funk is one of the toughest guys in wrestling. They had him look like a fucking idiot. He's pantyhoses on his face, and he's bumbling around the ring.
Coming out with a chainsaw. I was like, what in the...
That's crazy.
He was looking... Hey, I thought I watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre for a second.
Exactly. Chainsaw Charlie. That's it. But yeah, he's one of the toughest dudes in wrestling, but they made him look like an idiot with those pantyhose on. The Nation of Domination fighting each other, they look like fucking idiots. It made me mad, especially after we watched what New Nexus was doing last week. It really made them look dumb. I wrote down some notes. 5 of the members of the Nation were in the last 10. Were out in the last 10 guys left in the Rumble. 3 of the Nation members were in the last 5. 2 of them were in the last 3, and none of them won because they kept attacking each other. They look like a bunch of dummies. Mick Foley coming out as the 3 faces of Foley was extremely interesting. You know, the Fiend is going to steal that shit at some point. Owen Hart had a lot of value being the last Hart, and they ruined that shit. But when he came out, he had a giant pop. And then obviously Austin winning it was amazing. And then last but not least, Taker and Shawn Michaels was an all-time classic. It's actually one of my favorite matches of all time. Storytelling and athleticism. To Jay Will's point, that camera angle where he was scratching and clawing his way to get out of the casket, and Taker pulls them back in. Excellent camera work. And again, Jay Will again. What's the old saying? A dead clock is right twice. You know what I'm saying? That's Jay Will right now. The tombstone pile driver into the casket. Amazing. The one thing I didn't like was when Shawn hit that normal pile driver onto Taker onto the steps. That should end somebody's career, or at least put them out for 6 months. It was nasty as hell, and Taker just shook that shit off like it was nothing. Like 5 minutes later, he was doing something else. So that was the only gripe I had. But nonetheless, it is one of my all-time, I think, like top 20 favorite matches. And overall, that was a great pay-per-view.
Okay. Well, let's not forget, he's the Undertaker. And yeah, that definitely put the normal man down. I did like the action that Owen gave. Like they got a great pop when he came out. And then to have the Jim Cornette, Jeff Jarrett interference, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, you're rooting for Owen whenever he gets in the ring, and then he comes and gets in the ring and he's doing his thing, you know, and next thing you know, he gets hit by Triple H with the with the crutches. It's like, damn, Owen can't win for shit. He gets eliminated. So shout out RIP to Owen, because yeah, I just love seeing him in the ring doing this thing. Muscle Man Rell, Silver Corner. What was your thoughts about the 1998 Royal Rumble?
Well, everybody pretty much took literally everything I almost wanted to say. 98 Royal Rumble is probably my favorite Royal Rumble. And matter of fact, it's the one Royal Rumble that changed the course of history as we know it now as grown men. Stone Cold winning it, going on to become one of the biggest faces in WWE history. Shawn Michaels hurting his back. A normal flip off the ropes, Undertaker threw him off. His back hits it. It looks so small. And this is where I give props to Shawn. Not only is he my favorite, but to continue that match, I believe he blew 3 discs out of his back. So for him to continue that match is insane. And there's nothing else to add on that. So that match alone was my favorite match of the night. You brought up the 3 faces of Mick Foley. I didn't think anybody was going to bring that up. I thought people actually forgot about that. But that shows you how diverse Mick Foley was as a character. But like I said, that whole Royal Rumble changed the course of everyone's career. Outlaws, Stone Cold, The Rock. Even though he lost, it changed the course of history. There's so many things that happened that night, but I definitely just want to help on that Shawn Michaels Undertaker match. It was pure athleticism, the storyline with Kane. Because remember, Undertaker didn't come back until WrestleMania. So it was a way to get them out. And that's why I said it changed the course of history during that night, because everybody's character took a different turn for the better and for the worse. And you realize that Stone Cold was there. Like, I think we all knew Stone Cold was coming, but he was the man that night and moving forward. So it was, again, people rank it in the top. I put it number one Royal Rumble of all times. It was sad to see LOD where they were, because it was hard to watch personally for me, watching LOD, because I'm a massive LOD. They're my number one or two, top two tag team. And I didn't think that was one of the better matches they put on. The Vader, I mean, you guys are right on the money with Vader. I felt that, again, after that match, it should have took a turn for the better for him. And I think that's the only fault I saw after the Royal Rumble. But in terms of just the Royal Rumble, that was one of the highlights of the night. Vader and Luna on his back. I mean, that man's pure athleticism. That man was doing things that people his size had no business. No business. Even to this day, I don't know who could do what he did. But for him to do what he did at that size and weight is unheard of. And people talk about it a lot in the interviews, where they give credit to Vader for a lot of the stuff that went on in their matches. Because a big guy shouldn't have been moving the way that he did. So those are the things that I took away from Royal Rumble, just because, and I had to find things here because you guys literally ate it all up. I mean, yeah, I mean.
That's what we do, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you guys ate it all up. But you know what? That goes to show you how great the Royal Rumble was. Yeah. You know, if Shawn never hurt his back, really, what would have happened? We all know Stone Cold would have took the belt. But what feuds did we miss out on just based off of that one small injury? How many more Undertaker matches could we have seen with Shawn Michaels after that? What if he didn't hurt his back? Because they had top 3 matches every single time they got in the ring together. And it wasn't a lot. But so how many times could we have seen that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
What Stone Cold?
I'm gonna stop you right there because you about to go down that lane.
I think that's but what I'm saying is, and stop me. I'm sorry. I apologize for veering off. I mean, but my point was the Royal Rumble. Yeah, the Royal Rumble changed the course of history, and that Royal Rumble specifically changed the course of history is where I was headed. Sorry, guys, for being all over the place, but I want to make that point that the '98 Rumble literally changed the course of history forever as we know it with wrestling.
Okay. Colin, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I got a couple of quick little funny notes. You know, Jim Ross had the line of the night. He said, "quote unquote," during the Shamrock Rocky match, he said, "This is not the seniors tour. We have young athletes in their prime," which basically was him taking shots at WCW, having older guys in their main event. And I laugh at that because 3-4 days from now, Goldberg, who's 54 years old, is about to fight for the world title. But we won't talk about that. Owen fell down. Owen was chasing Jeff Jarrett to the back. He fell. he fell down going through the curtain. I thought that was pretty funny. JR said Mark Henry was handling the Big Johnson.
Oh man, I was like pause over the whole Royal Rumble after that, dog.
That was terrible. Mike Tyson called Austin Cold Stone and called Shawn Michaels a then 3-time WWF World Champion a young and hungry upcoming tiger. So Shawn Michaels, who's already a 3-time champion, was a young and upcoming hungry tiger. Thought that was ridiculous. And then the last thing I thought was, which again JR kind of gets a little too big for his britches. He said, and I quote, during the Shawn Taker match, he said, "No one can match Shawn Michaels' success in championship matches. Not Hogan, not Savage, no one." I'm a giant Hulk Hogan fan. That man held the title for 3 years straight. I think he has something to say about, his success in championship matches. I'm pretty sure Austin has something to say about that too. So again, JR trying to take shots at WCW, I thought was uncalled for, and it's just trademark JR kind of popping off at the mouth and not knowing what the fuck he's talking about. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay. Anybody want to add what Colin said? Okay.
I got to go back. Jr.
Yeah,
said the Big Johnson. That I like paused the entire show, and I'm like, how did we get away with hearing this statement
Oh
on
man.
live television?
He
Oh
I'm
handled
like,
the Big
man.
Johnson. He handled the Big Johnson.
Yeah, like
oh,
I think I was watching it. And I think I had reached out to you guys, like, yo, I just had to take a break. Pause over the whole pay-per-view after this.
I'm like, yeah, that's gross. I'm good.
Oh man, that
Ahmed
was
Johnson,
hilarious.
Marshall, real quick, but
So
Ahmed Johnson was unintentionally hilarious that entire time. Like he wore the earrings in. That was ridiculous. Something
Mhm.
happened. That dude ended up with the most like massive wedgie. His ass cheeks were hanging out. Disgusting. He got
oh, disgusting.
disgusting. He got something happened, and one of the hog farmers got eliminated. And then on the way down, his leg caught, and I think he hit a referee in the back of the head. So the hog farmer, the pig farmer, felt bad, right? And he went down to go check on the referee. Like he thought like it was a real thing. He really thought he hit the shit out of the referee. So he was concerned. Ahmed Johnson comes out of nowhere, kicks the pig farmer in the back of the head, and falls down at the exact same time. It's like, what the hell is he doing out there?
And got pushed before he came out because remember who I can't remember his name.
It was
Ended
Kama.
up being the Godfather. But
Right.
yeah, he ended up pushing him like, yeah, fuck you, punk. And Alvin John just looked at him like, what did I do?
It was terrible.
Yo.
He had a terrible night. A terrible night. And his gut, he was way out of shape. It was fucking terrible.
It was terrible, bro. How you get pushed by somebody when you walking out and you didn't return at all? It was terrible. I'm like, you went out like a bitch. Ahmed Johnson was fucking terrible.
Okay. And that was anybody else. They would have waited to get into it. Because somebody, who was that? There was somebody that didn't come out. There was a contestant. I think it was like 25,
number
24
20.
or something.
No, it was like 23. Because that was where Stone Cold, and they kept saying Stone Cold was supposed to come out here. Like, no, we knew he drew like 30. He was supposed to have drawn 30. And I'm like, yo, what happened backstage? What's going on?
That person has still yet to enter the Royal Rumble.
Exactly. That Royal Rumble's still going on.
So did Stone Cold really win that Rumble? The question.
Hey,
right.
Hey, it's in the books now, though.
Real quick, there's two small things that I got to bring up. First of all, Mark Merrow was in this Rumble, and let me just tell you how great it was for Mark Merrow to come out because Sable came out. Not Mark Merrow. There's nothing interesting about this motherfucker. He was in the fucking ring dancing around, like legitimately thinking, I knocked all these people. Nigga, you ain't throw nobody out. Like, bruh, Sable is the best part of your entrance. Why are you here?
Little Richard, I thought that was Little Richard's brother for the longest, man. I swear.
Dog.
I swear. But then the found he's not black. Like, what?
Bro, that's what I'm saying. We were all I was surprised. Like, huh? He isn't?
Right.
Oh,
He's not
okay. And then we mentioned how the entire nation, all 5 members were in the ring at one time. But D'Lo Brown, underappreciated guy. He was in that ring for such a long time, and he's put on great matches. But his work when he went legit going back and forth with the Rock, fellow Nation member, like that was some solid work in that Rumble that you had to appreciate. D'Lo Brown, underappreciated guy here, guys.
Who doesn't do the D'Lo Brown walk? Come on now,
bro. The head shake. That's good shit. That's good shit,
man.
That's true. That's true.
Let me do something. I'm doing
lean,
the D'Lo
come
Brown
on.
walk. I'm doing the D'Lo Brown and the Conor McGregor walk. You know what I'm saying? But the D'Lo Brown is coming first. You know what I mean? So hot take. I'm gonna say it now. Fight me later. D'Lo Brown's splash better looking than Eddie Guerrero's. I'm calling it. I'll fight whoever. That splash that he does, it looks way better than Eddie Guerrero's. Y'all fans, listen, put in the comments box. I want us to have that conversation.
Hey.
Who had the best Raw splash? You want us to have it? Let us see it.
Put that in the comment section. Put that in the comment section.
Let's see. We'll have to come back to that. All right, we're gonna go around right quick because I like to end it on that one right there. That's a cliffhanger right there. So real fast, going around. 1 through 10. 1 being not so good, 10 being outstanding. We're gonna rank the 1998 Royal Rumble. All right, Muscle Man Rell, go.
I'm sorry, you guys. Repeat that question.
Rank it 1 to 10.
Oh, 10.
All right, Colin from DC.
10.
Jay Will.
I'm giving it a 9. I didn't need that. I didn't need the mini match.
Right. I could have did without that. Jose Cuevo.
Yeah, I'm agree with Jay Will. I'll give it a 9. As much as I like that match, don't get me wrong. As much as I like that match, I could have done without it.
Okay. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 because, like I say, it gets that half point with a simple fact of Luna being on back of Vader's back, and that shit was hilarious. All right. So keeping up with the Royal Rumble, I want to know you guys' opinion on it. All right, we had winners, but who benefited the most in the 90s? You know what I mean? You had Yokozuna winning, you had Shawn win, Austin, even McMahon won. You know what I'm saying? Lex and Bret tied for 1. Hogan and my man Jay Will, boy, woo, the Nature Boy Ric Flair won. So the Royal Rumble in the 90s, who benefited? All right. I want to start with you, Jay Will.
So I have to look at the simple phrasing of this question. Benefiting.
Mhm.
That means somebody who benefited from it, their climb. Me personally, I'm personally going to choose Ric Flair in his 92 win simply because he was already a star in his own right within the industry itself. But if we want to make the comparison of him benefiting from his stint in the WWF at the time, he 100% benefited from that win in the WWF. He was already a household name throughout wrestling, period. But for his run with the WWF, he definitely benefited cementing his stature within the company at that time.
That's when we got the teardrop in my eye speech because that's when he had to prove he was the best.
Yes, okay. he had to prove it to the industry within this company that he was it.
Facts. Okay, Colin from DC. Who benefited most in the 90s from the Royal Rumble?
Sure. I think this is a really good question, and I think all throughout the 90s it benefited pretty much everybody. But to get into the specifics of the question, I would go with Shawn. Shawn won. I think Shawn benefited the most. He won. It propelled him into the main event scene. He was the first man to win it from the #1 spot, and that that's an historical achievement. Marshall, that's you, right? You want to enter in at the #1 spot, right?
That's right, baby. I'm the show, baby. That's right. Showing you the best, baby.
Go Shawn Michaels route. I respect that. But yeah, no, he started at #1 and he outlasted. Again, another historical moment. The way Bulldog and those braids, clotheslined him outside of the ring, and he was able to kind of like balance and keep himself from falling out on that one leg. That is
the 1 foot. Both feet have to hit the ground.
Exactly. That's when everybody knew about. No one knew about that rule. No one knew about 2 feet have to hit the ground. That's crazy. That was the first time you ever really heard that rule. But you knew it after that moment. You definitely knew it. But that was a thing that, like, through the annals of time, if the WWE is around in 2080 and they're still having the Royal Rumble, that is an iconic shot that will always be played of Shawn Michaels hanging on with one leg, and even talked about with him winning it at #1. That is a historical moment. He turned around and he won. I think he was coming off of an injury or something like that, and he was like the sentimental pick in 1996, and he won the 1996 Royal Rumble. And then that propelled him into essentially being the main eventer all time, the future Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels, main event Shawn Michaels, because he went on and he fought Bret at WrestleMania 12 for the title in that legendary Iron Man match. So I think, when you got guys like Flair, he was already the Nature Boy Ric Flair. He was already a multiple-time world champion. He wasn't cemented in WWF, but he was a main event guy. You got guys like Austin, you knew it was going to happen for him. But something about Shawn, I think Shawn was it was finally Shawn transitioning into the Intercontinental tag team, Intercontinental, and now he's finally arrived. He's been throughout this. It was the boyhood dream. He's finally arrived to this moment in time where he's it's finally his moment to shine. So I think it's Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Muscle Man Rell. What do you think?
All right, so my answer is about to throw everybody off. So there's two people I think it benefited.
Nope, I need one. Give me one.
Oh, how could you? Jim Duggan. Jim Duggan.
In the 90s?
Oh, you're right, Fudge. Shawn Michaels.
In the 90s.
Shawn Michaels.
Man, look, rest the weights and pay attention in class, man.
No, I paid attention, but you know when you have such a juicy answer, you want to throw everybody off. So I stuck with that answer.
Come on, Shawn Michaels.
I'm gonna say Shawn Michaels. I'm gonna say Shawn Michaels because it finished that story. You remember boyhood dream, etc., etc. I mean, it started the story for him. So I'm gonna go with Shawn Michaels on this one. I think it was developed. You're continuing to develop that character. Maybe it's me being a fanboy with Shawn Michaels, but I think it was just finishing that storyline that it started to wrap up the storyline with Shawn Michaels. He was a young up and coming wrestler who can put on a show with everybody. And my answer is going to be short. So I'm just going to say Shawn Michaels. I think we all know why it's Shawn Michaels, why it should be Shawn Michaels. It can't be anybody else. Shawn Michaels is the greatest wrestler of all time.
Okay,
so
moving on.
I think that's why.
Get this guy out of the ring.
All right, go your corner, muscle man. Quavo, what's your reply? Who did the Royal Rumble benefit the most in the 90s?
And see, I'm glad you asked that question because that sets the rules to the match, Muscle Man. So let's pay attention to the rules real quick. But rules stating benefits, the most benefit. In my opinion, the most benefit you can get out of a match is winning that title. And that's why I gotta agree with Jay Will. 92 Flair, that's the moment. That etched in time, it concreted the first benefit, the biggest benefit out of the Royal Rumble match, which is getting that title because you had a vacant title. And I've mentioned it in one of our previous episodes. And if you look at it that way, well, you want to get the most benefit. We've seen people win the Royal Rumble and not win a championship. So do they really benefit out of it? Possibly, possibly not. It's debatable. But to see that you actually win and you have the championship after the match, I don't care how good your matches are. If you win and you win with the title, Flair said it best. This title proves to everybody. I don't care if there are rumors out there saying that I'm the NWA champion. I don't care if there's rumors out there saying that I am the champion. This cements it. This proves it to the world. You know what I mean? And I think that's why I'm gonna have to go with that answer. I wish I had said it first, but but Jay Will could get that first one. I'm telling you, because hey, 92 Rumble, a vacant title. You had Taker, you had Hogan in there too. Flair won, bro. I'm just trying to say, that's my answer. I'll give it, whoever got it first gets it, but at the same time, I'm not gonna disagree with a good answer.
You gotta have your own opinion, and that's your opinion. And like I said, opinions like assholes. Everybody got one. Jay Will, what you got?
So I really want to emphasize, like, yes, our question was who benefited from winning, but we also can have an argument later on that you don't have to particularly win to benefit from a Royal Rumble. There's guys who show themselves as top contenders who can put on amazing matches, who can benefit from it, and they may not ever have to win a title one, you can win and not win the title and still benefit from that boost and that push. But you can also benefit from seeing guys who can put on amazing matches, who can do amazing storytelling, but never win a Rumble. Like, there's literally people who we said, can sit back like me, who watched D'Lo Brown and said he did an amazing job in his Rumble, and then seeing like later on he can put on some amazing matches later on down the road.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? I know I'm gonna get you for this one, but some people say, Kofi Kingston. But
I agree with that.
Story.
I was gonna
That's
say
another
Kofi
story.
Kingston
That's
Hey,
for
myself.
another
hey,
day,
hey, hey!
another
It's an old
timeline.
school show. Come on, man.
Right. Like I said, I was going to get murdered for it. So, saying, coming back to where we at. All
Don't get
right.
us all in trouble, bro.
And we're back. Okay, so that's that segment. All right. I think what do you think out there, America? World, country, everybody, put in the comment section. Let us know what you think. All right. And moving on. Sticking with Royal Rumble season, talking about the Royal Rumble season and being in the Royal Rumble season, in the Royal Rumble, that is. I got a question for you guys. All right. And you people out there listening, you can join in too. All right. Uh, which would you rather have? Would you rather have lasted longer in the Rumble? Or would you rather have thrown the most people out? All right. Let me repeat that. Would you rather have lasted the longest? Let's say you enter number one, you make it all the way through, and yeah, you want that time. Or do you want to be like Kane and be coming in and a Roman and be throwing everybody out? All right, get your count number up. All right, going around a square or circle. I'm gonna start with Colin from DC.
Originally I actually was gonna say I would want to throw out the most people. Show up and just dominate and just wreck everyone. But now that I think about it, I am a coward. So just lasting, lasting as long as I can, and having the moment, having an opportunity to win the whole thing. Yeah, I think that makes that's something I would want to do. I don't care if I gotta go through the ropes, hide under the ropes like with Hornswoggle, or just find a way, just find a way to have a shot, find a way to have a shot to be there at the end. But yeah, I would rather to have the longer go longer in the Rumble than throw out the most people.
Okay. Muscle Man Rell, what about you?
So I would rather throw out the most people because I can always make my mark looking dominant. And you can always build off my character and always say, oh, this is Muscle Man. He threw out the most people, etc., etc. And it comes off as impressive. And to me, it comes off more impressive than just lasting off because I literally physically threw out grown ass men on my way to eliminating the most people. And then from there, you can build my storyline for the upcoming. And I have a say in look, I dominated this amount of men. I have a right to fight the winner to see if I should make it to WrestleMania and fight for the title. So I look at it as a storyline. And you can use that better than I lasted the longest and got eliminated. And I can say I threw out the most guys. So that's how I see it. Um, so that would be my answer.
Okay. Quavo, what you got? What you want?
Quavo. I mean, it's a tough question. I love the question too, because if you're asking the question, like a superpower, which one would you rather have? The ability to stay in the Rumble all the way to the end, or the ability to get people out of the Rumble fast? Because you're going to be known as the dog, the main dog of the Rumble. Um, which I know Kane for a moment. I know he held that. He might still hold it. I haven't checked. But I know he held it for a minute, man. And he was just like Kane was the guy. He had the most people out of a Rumble for a minute. Um, and then you have people that have lasted long time in the Rumble. And I want to say the current, and my apologies because I know this is an old school show, but I think the current longest running one is DB. But in my opinion, I think I would rather last longer in the Rumble
Mm,
because regardless of what number I'm gonna get, regardless of whether how many people I'm gonna take out, they know I'm gonna be Final Four, and I'd
mm,
rather know that I'm gonna be Final Four than to just be taking people out willy nilly and maybe not make it at all, not even make it to Final Four. You know what I mean? I
mm,
feel like that would be a better choice for me. I'd rather last the longest in the Rumble, and knowing that I'm the one that's gonna last the longest in the Rumble, I'm gonna be the hardest one to get out of a Rumble too. You
mm.
get what I'm saying?
Yep. Okay. All right. Jay Will.
So I really had a hard time with this question because you can write a character in so many different ways from this. And honestly, my answer is I'd rather last the longest, have that title someone who lasts longer. If you honestly think about it in storytelling sort of way, when you think about a person who's thrown out the most people, you can think about someone who's more physically dominating, who's you can make an argument of Kane throwing so many people out and having that title throwing the most people out, but that was because he was physically dominating. But you could say a person like Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels who've lasted so long in matches simply because they were just overly intelligent people and they were able to manipulate their way all the way in. We look at Ric Flair with the random eye gouging, or then with the physical strength of Shawn Michaels to be thrown over, but then hold on to that rope and pull himself back in. So, like, it shows a different part of a character. And for me personally, I'd rather be seen as the person who was smart enough to keep themselves in for such a long time.
Okay, nice. So with that being said, now we're saying that. What you got, Colin?
I think a better question, Marshall, is out of the five of us, right? Out of the five of us, who would last in the Royal Rumble the shortest, and why is it Quavo?
Oh wow! I think it would be the shortest because the match would be over that fast, and you'd be already out.
I'd dump your ass. I'd dump you out like Santino Marella. Get out of here,
dude. After you hop into the ring, I don't know. Let's see.
I'm in there like the APA. I'm in there like my Uncle Peru. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have to battle that shit out. That's how we going down. All right. So with that being said, got another question for you guys. We're talking about the Royal Rumble. All right. I want to know you guys' favorite Rumble moment. All right. Your most memorable moment of the Royal Rumble. All right. Jose Cuevo. What was like your most memorable moment of the Royal Rumble?
See,
or your most memorable Royal Rumble moment, I should say.
Oh, see, and this is why I like it, because over the years, Rumbles have changed. When you look at how the Rumble started, the intentional illegal run-in, with Pat Patterson creating that amazing idea that kind of like revolutionized how we look at wrestling in a way, because the Royal Rumble has literally changed and became its own match, and it's like giving a lot of shine to wrestlers that wouldn't normally get that shine. So seeing that you have the evolution of the Rumbles and seeing how the pop comes in and changes everything, and you're like, wow, how they've had the entrance music and making sure that when the wrestlers hop in and their number is called, it makes a statement. And I was thinking about that, and I thought, one of the biggest ones that impacted me, that actually brought me back into watching wrestling again, because for a time I wasn't watching, was when AJ Styles came back in 2016. That just, and I wasn't even thinking about watching the Rumble. I got invited to a party, and they were like, "Come on, we got the pay-per-view going on. Go to check it out." And coming from a background where you've seen outside of the network and you've seen independent circuits and you've been watching, just because you don't watch the network doesn't mean you don't watch pro wrestling. But if you're listening, you got a chance to listen to a lot of the stuff that we go over. And that 2016 pop, oh my goodness, it made me mark out hard, dude. Made me mark out hard, dude. And I was like, what? Like, wait, what? That it just, it was just, it really brought me back, and it really pulled a sense of nostalgia out of me that I had buried away, because, for whatever reason, either you hate it or love it, you're going to watch it. But when you watch it, you got to see why you watch it. And having them actually bring out a dude like AJ Styles, and whew, that just having him make that mark, dude, I was like, what?
When I saw the phenomenal one come across the title, I was like,
the fact that everyone knew what was happening But at the same
Mhm.
time, until that music hit, and then we were like, wait, that's not even his music, but we know that music. We know it's possible, and we see phenomenal. And you know what I
Mhm.
mean? So the moment he starts walking out, I'm like, oh snap, it's going down. It's going
Yeah, yeah, that was my
down.
man. Right, I was like, oh, because like you said, watching back in the day and to see him show up here is like, oh, it's
Oh,
phenomenal time, baby.
it's get ready to fly, man. I'm trying to tell you, man. It's so those are little things that I think for me that was the most memorable one. That it was like, wow, okay, now it really made a huge pop in, and I was like, okay, they're going
Okay,
somewhere with this.
okay, okay. Colin from DC, what was your moment?
Hey, it's crazy. I actually have three, and it's across different generations. That's why I'm so kind of torn between the three of them. The first one was Hulk and Warrior. Obviously, Hulk is my guy. Warrior was Warrior was the quote unquote the next one up, next man up. And that was just a historical moment. Between to see those two face off in the middle of the ring. What did Gorilla Monsoon used to say? The immovable force versus the something object.
Indestructible object.
Indestructible object. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it was like that. That was the two biggest forces at the time in all of wrestling, and it was just crazy to see those two in the ring together. The crowd went crazy for it. Um, John Cena in 2008 when he was returning, that was nuts.
Mhm,
He was hurt.
mhm,
he was supposed to be out for 6 or 7 months or 8 months, something crazy, and he just pops
mhm,
up out of nowhere after like 3 months, and he's back. That and the roof went off of roof went off in Madison Square Garden. It was just another. I'm not the biggest John Cena fan,
mhm,
but it's hard not to respect his grind and his dedication to wrestling. And him coming back was amazing. It shocked everybody. And then last but not least, I am a Shinsuke Nakamura guy, and I
mhm,
can definitely speak volumes to that Royal Rumble. That is one of my top 2018 Royal Rumble is one of my top favorite Royal Rumbles. And Nakamura, when it got down to that last four between Reigns, Balor, Nakamura, and Cena, that was
mhm,
one of my favorite all time moments because especially at the end it was Reigns and Cena just trying. I know this is kind of new schoolish, but sorry, it is a memorable moment. Nakamura was basically fighting off the two
It's
faces
a
of
it's a
the
hardcore match.
right, right. And Nakamura was fighting off the two faces of the company. He was fighting off both Reigns and Cena. There was a moment where they both jumped him, and Cena looks out to the crowd. So rewind that. Basically, Cena and Reigns are jumping Nakamura, and the crowd is just booing the shit out of them, booing the shit out of them. And then John Cena looks at Reigns and says, this guy, they're cheering for this guy. Let's get him." And they just started to beat the shit out of him, which was really crazy. And then obviously Nakamura won, and I thought that was the greatest thing. But yeah,
mhm.
those are my three all time top favorite moments.
Okay, all right, nice, nice. Jay Will, what you got?
So I'm going to go totally against the grain as everybody else. Now, one of the best moments for me, most memorable Royal Rumble moments, I got to go with my man, The Rock. And I know for those avid wrestling fans, they're going to think I'm going to choose when he won the Rumble. No, 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 no. Going against the grain this time. I'm going for the time that he cost Stone Cold the Rumble when he ended up making Stone Cold lose and Vince McMahon won the Rumble. Let me tell you how funny that shit is. One, it's just hilarious, roided up fucking Vince McMahon walking down to the ring, Pat Madison and Joe Briscoe, the Stooges, with him
That's
walking down
Fuji.
to the ring. It then is literally left with Rock, Stone Cold, and Vince McMahon left. And Stone Cold happens to get Rock out. He's in the process of getting Rock out, and Vince McMahon ran up and not threw him out. Rock was integral for that moment to happen. And to me, that was one of the best moments, not because it was a feat of amazingness, it was fucking hilarious. Now, some people hated it, but
Mhm.
I freaking love that moment.
Oh man, I remember that. Yeah, that's a throwback right there. Okay, okay. Muscle Man Rell.
Oh man, oh man. So I'll agree with Colin on one third of what he said. The most memorable moment is Hulk Hogan Ultimate Warrior. Those who are older like us, and if you're newer like the younger generation, anybody below 20, 20 below, they may not know the importance of Ultimate Warrior. And I'm sure they already know about Hulk Hogan. But Ultimate Warrior was supposed to be the man. He was built up as the next big thing. He won everything and anything. And he was supposed to take the reins. And to finally see those two go face to face in the ring for the first time, essentially, against each other. Um, and especially with what was on the line, you know, it just built the anticipation. Crowd was rowdy, screaming, because it was like, oh my gosh, one of these two guys got to win it. And fans were legit split. Hulk Hogan fans, some of them went off to be Ultimate Warrior fans. So it was legit split. My brother was one of them who he loved Ultimate Warrior, but deep down inside, he became a Hulk Hogan. I mean, he was stuck with Hulk Hogan. I was the Ultimate Warrior guy. So that moment for me is the defining moment of me watching Royal Rumble. That was
Okay.
my most memorable moment by far.
Okay. Cool. For me, I got to go back to the AJ Styles, like what you had said, Quavo. Like that took me back. That's one moment that had took me back, and it was like, because I never would have imagined seeing AJ in, that company. You know what I'm saying, being, where he was at and everything like that. Man, that was crazy. Another moment, and I'm gonna have to bite off one of my producers, was when Edge returned. He got the big pop, and he was looking around like, basically like that. Damn, they remember me look. You know what I mean? Like that was a good moment. And another one is going, saying the opposite direction, was when Daniel Bryan didn't enter into the Royal Rumble and they instead bought out Batista. And man, that arena was pissed.
Livid. I remember that.
They was heated. You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't want to see, because they already leaked Batista was coming out, but the crowd was already behind Daniel Bryan. You know what I mean? Like that was supposed to be his moment to come out, and the yes movement was going to erupt, and it was like, oh, you're giving us Batista? What the fuck? Yeah, the boo, bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It was just crazy. You know what I'm saying? So even talking about it now, that gives me chills. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Batista was heated. You know, so but Batista, I love you, bro. DC guy, I love you. You know what I'm saying? Guardians of the Galaxy, keep it going. But yeah, you remember that moment. They was pissed. So, moving on. I want to talk about a superstar. I liked him. I really like this guy. Even though he used to scare the shit out of me back in the day. But I like this guy. No pain. Vader. Big Van Vader. How many of y'all like Vader, ain't it? Who like Vader? Who didn't like Vader?
Oh, I love
Going
it.
around the circle. Love Vader. I love Vader. I like Vader.
I
wanna
like
know,
Vader
though.
so much, even though he scared the shit out of me. I
You
still
know
love
what I'm
him. I
saying?
was like, damn, bro.
Right. This one right here. But I like seeing his match. I like seeing him in action, But why did he fail in the WWE or WWF at that time? Why did he fail, guys? What do you think? Colin from DC.
It was because of fucking Shawn Michaels. That's why. That's why. He should have beat. Vader should have beaten Shawn for the title at SummerSlam '96. He should have been world champion. But I do know that after that match, Shawn basically complained to Vince McMahon about Vader, and he got Vader removed from the program. And I think he eventually got Sid put in. I think that's what ended up. The program that Vader was supposed to run with Shawn is supposed to be like a trilogy, but he bitched and whined and he complained and he got Vader removed, and they put Sid in there. But I think, and when the day is done, I really think that Vince McMahon gives too much power to Shawn Michaels, or to guys like Shawn Michaels, for selfish reasons. But I think they were basically saying that Shawn had complained about Vader was working too stiff, but that was Vader's character. Vader's character is he's gonna maul you, he's gonna stiff you, he's gonna hurt you, but that's how he's been since WCW,
working stiff.
Japan, exactly, working stiff. That's what it is. So they knew WWF knew what they were gonna get when they signed him. Vader came in around 1996. When they had people like, the landscape was pig farmers and cowboys and Native Americans and trash men and Ahmed Johnson. So he definitely could fit into the WWF landscape. It's not like he couldn't, hang around the main event scene and look like he's, a sore thumb that's sticking out. Vader could have, fit in well with the rest of those guys, or been more exceptional than the rest of those guys. Especially when the WWF had just lost Hall and Nash to WCW. But I honestly think that Vader's personality, they said that Vader was very, very sensitive. So he would, which is hilarious because he's a damn bully. He's out, in the ring, he's a damn monster. But, guys like the Click and stuff like that basically got in Vince McMahon's ear. And Vader, basically, everybody said, Jim Ross said this, Vader is sensitive, very, 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 very sensitive. And he didn't understand why the Click was picking on him, and he didn't stand up for himself politically. And that was basically the end of Vader. He just got lost by the wayside after that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Quavo, what you think? What happened to Vader?
To be honest with you, it's hard to understand what happened with him. Vader's put on decent matches. I mean, he's even been in arguably some of the best Fatal 4-Way matches.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm. So why do you feel in
so
WWE, man?
I see. That's what I don't know, man. I think and this is just a personal opinion. I think it's because he's a super heavyweight. Most most champions that make it have to be a certain build, have to be a certain height, and for them to keep the title, they gotta be marketable. I like I said, used to be scared shitless of Vader, but at the same time, that was his persona.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at it now, I'm like, damn, Vader was the shit. So I mean, I don't know what happened there, but um, I do gotta agree that he definitely could have done better. I don't know. I just I don't know why he failed.
Okay. Muscle Man Rail.
The reason why it didn't work for Vader, one, I felt that WWE didn't use him right. I felt that he was always a WCW guy naturally, and anywhere but WWF, to be honest. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe he wrestled in Japan as well. But someone could correct me. But I'm almost certain he wrestled in Japan as well. But I just felt creatively they didn't know what to do. Too much politics, too many people involved, too many people in Vince's ear and the booking's ear. And I believe he was supposed to debut after WrestleMania. And again, like Colin said, though this guy is my favorite wrestler of all times, he messed it up for Vader. He messed up the run. He messed everything up, and he somehow fell down the pecking order of the guys next up to run, because Vader was supposed to be impactful from the start. He was supposed to a match right into a world title picture, but especially with Diesel and those guys moving on. But somehow he fell down because Shawn didn't want him there. I'm not wrestling this guy, and apparently it just went downhill from there. I believe he was supposed to have a feud with Yokozuna, and that was supposed to be, but both guys, Yokozuna was already past his prime at that point. Yokozuna was no longer Yokozuna. I believe he was even bigger. Not, I believe he was even bigger than he was then in the past. So he couldn't move nimble like he once did. Because for his size, Yokozuna could move, and both guys. But if Vader was facing Yokozuna of 92, 93, that match would have been worth it. But obviously, everything was just set up for failure when Vader came out, and Shawn Michaels had a lot to do with it, from what I was told and what I read. So I just think it was bad timing, bad booking, and I'm glad it wasn't it didn't ruin the legacy that Vader had and the impact he had in wrestling. So I'm glad he was able to still survive that, and people like us remember him for what he did well. But I think it just wasn't a match made in heaven over there.
Okay. All right. Jay Will.
So Colin summed it up pretty nicely, but we can't ignore the elephant in the room with it. No pun intended, Vader. That he was problematic in many ways in the ring. Um, we can go back, we can look back at WCW. We can look where Vader was putting on great matches. He was very much a key figure in the card. He was a main eventer. But the biggest problem was he was botching bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
was legitimately injuring coworkers. And when we had to shift over from WWF to WWF, I'm sorry, it was still well known. And it was kind of, we know that Vince is Vince, and he's going to say, you know what, I can still make this character work. We're going to work with him. We're going to make sure he doesn't botch. That's what's happening. Now, honestly, yes, we know that Shawn did his crybaby antics backstage. And honestly speaking, look, does it makes 100% sense. Like big names are going to have that creative pull and push to get what they want out of a show. It shouldn't have happened with Vader because Vader was worth watching. I can honestly remember friends in elementary school talking about Vader coming over, and they were super excited. But then in the end, we couldn't get much out of him from that point, and we're subjected to seeing him on fucking Boy Meets World after that. Like it's sad to say that politics came into play, but Vader also fucked himself up by you know fucking up on moves and hurting his coworkers, even though it wasn't intentional. He screwed himself up. Was it something he could have recovered from? Sure, but Shawn just kept piling that dirt on him, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Just
And Shawn does not
he
work stiff. He does
nah
not work stiff at all.
at all.
So yeah, I understand that. Colin from DC.
I'm just not letting Shawn get away with that shit. I don't know. He's just done it. He's just done it, or at least back then. Actually, no, I take that back. I was gonna say back then, but even when he came back, he did that shit to Hulk Hogan. He acts like a bitch,
Mm,
and he's so unprofessional. Um, Vader works stiff. Vader does potato people. Vader does hurt some people. I understand that. But and again, to Jay Will's credit, I'll give him that again. Um, you know, Vince probably did think, oh, we can work around it. We'll fix it. Well, we could fix him.
mm,
But my thing is, when the day is done, this is the feud that's set up. This is what Vader is. I know. I
mm,
think it was something. I remember that Shawn was supposed to come off the top rope. I think Vader was supposed to move. Vader didn't move. Shawn landed on his feet and just kicked Vader right in the head. And I think he even called him stupid, if I'm not mistaken, or move you fat piece of shit, or something he said.
mm,
Um, Unprofessional. I just don't. I don't like making excuses for Shawn Michaels, because the more you make excuses, like a child, the more you make excuses for him without checking him, what's going to happen? He's going to do it over and over and over again, and he's going to feel more empowered every other time, or excuse me, each other time, there it is, that he does it. So the more you let him get away with it, the more he empowered he is to do it again and again and again. Can't
mm,
stand that shit. Um, Vader should, and again, remember how that first match ended, even before Vader was doing botching and all that stuff. That was the first time match. So remember, I think the match ended by countout with a Vader win. Then the match ended by disqualification with a Vader win. And the match had to be restarted like 2 or 3 times because Vader didn't want to win that way. Vader wanted to win the title. And then
mm,
finally, Shawn, I think, hit him with Sweet Chin Music and then beat him. That's bullshit. You brought Vader in to be this dominant champion. Let him beat Shawn at least that one time. And then if it's not
mm,
working out, you could always have the next pay-per-view in your house or whatever, Survivor Series, to do whatever. But to
mm,
go back and throw a hissy fit, kick him in the head, call him a movie piece of shit, all this extra stuff, uncalled for. And that was the end. You're right. That was the end of Vader after all that. I know they kind of kept him around in 97. He was all over the place. I do remember in late 97, he had that feud. I think it was with Kane, if I'm not mistaken. It's either late 97 or early 98. And I think, he couldn't beat Kane. He called himself a fat piece, a lazy piece of shit, and he should just retire. I think that he wasn't supposed to say that. I think he just went off script, but buried him even more. It just everything after that 96 thing, that 96 run, everything was just downhill. But I don't
mm,
wholeheartedly blame Vader. I don't.
mm. Okay, okay. Anybody else? Quavo?
No, no, I'm good.
No.
I,
Okay.
I feel like I feel like that's the one thing about Vader. He was a super heavyweight, and I believe that, you know, Every superstar is capable of doing what they're capable of doing, with the shit that they're gonna give you. You get what I'm saying? Because
Mhm.
that's what they got to do. Um, Unfortunately, shit didn't happen the way it did, but you know that Vader was that kind of icon or that kind of celebrity or superstar that was engageable and appealing to the crowd. Think about it. I mean, I was scared of Vader, but still knew who he was. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Mhm. Okay. Okay. Well, I like Vader. I wish he could have had that one championship run, like you said, Colin. You know what I'm saying? I wish that he gave him a chance, and like I said, Shawn was Shawn, and I guess that's what we don't. One thing I took from when Bret Hart was talking, now what we know when Bret Hart was talking about what we have seen now when we look back at these things, like okay, Shawn was difficult, and Shawn could bury your career, and unfortunately, hey, it looks like Vader may have been one of those victims. All right.
But sorry to intervene. Shauna was Sean, but you
However, we'll
can't.
say because you're not about to wipe out everything I just said. So
No,
we'll
no,
say,
no, no, no,
however.
no, 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 no. I agree. However, correct.
Hmm.
However, or despite that, it goes half and half. You can't work stiff and want a lot of other people to work with you, but Shawn Michaels can't politic and go behind people's back or talk trash and bury somebody, which is why I said WWF at the time was just not the place for him. Plain and simple, it was way too much involved, and it hurt. It hurt his career, and that's why I said people like us will always remember him for the fond moments instead of just the negative, because we knew what Vader was already.
Hmm.
We already
Oh,
knew.
okay. Hmm.
So
Okay. I see. I said something about Shawn Michaels. You got to get in. I got you. Well, you know what? You're gonna like this next topic then, because it's a fun question for everybody. We want our fans out there to join in. You know what I'm saying? It's called One Gotta Go. All right. So I'm gonna name an intercontinental champion that was in their peak, and one gotta go. All right, y'all ready, fellas? Y'all ready? Got your pens and pads ready?
absolutely, let's
All
roll. Let's
right, here we
roll.
go. Here we
Always get
go.
ready,
One
get
gotta
ready, get
go.
ready.
One gotta go. Intercontinental champion at their peak. Here we go. Number one, Bret the Hitman Hart. Number two, Shawn Michaels. Number three, Mr. Perfect. And number four, the bad guy, Razor Ramon. And we're talking about Razor Ramon, the bad guy in WWE. So I don't want to hear no Scott Hall, this, that, and the third one. No. Razor Ramon, the bad guy, Chico. Flick the toothpick right there. IC champ at his peak. Which one gotta go? All right. Who got the pick of the lottery? Let's see. Number one is Jay Will.
Uh,
You got
okay.
Sucks to be the first one in this rumble, doesn't it?
Yeah, no,
it.
I don't want to be number one for this. Okay, that's tough. Um, all right, if I remember correctly, I honestly, Brett. Okay, so Shawn and Mr. Perfect both had a total number of days with the title as IC champion. Both had 406 days. Razor had 347, and Brett had 290 as the IC champion. Now, there's redeeming qualities to every single one of these people, and I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I'm getting rid of Mr. Perfect. I'm getting rid of Mr. Perfect. I don't want to do this, but I'm going to have to. Mr. Perfect, amazing wrestler. Amazing wrestler. I love him. I as an IC champion, no.
Oh man,
I
we're
can't.
losing the smacking of the gum.
I can't. So here's the thing. I can think of so many amazing IC matches with Shawn, Razor, and Bret. There's nothing from Mr. Perfect, Kurt Henning's IC runs that made me just want like super excited. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that match. I remember that. So yeah, Mr. Perfect, you got to go, bro. I still love you, though. I still smack my gum in your honor, bro.
Right. Right. I still smack my gum too. We had Bobby with him, so I can see your point. You know what I mean? There is no wrong answer, but maybe there is. Maybe there is. Who we got next? Who got the next on the lottery pick? Here we go. Here we go. Jose Cuevo. Which one?
Quavo. Yeah, that's damn. See, this is a beautifully tough question that I love to answer. Trust me, because one has to go. And unfortunately, when you got to make those tough decisions, you got to make those tough decisions. Um, my pick, unfortunately, has to be in agreement with J. Will. It has to be perfect. Oh,
What?
I know, I know.
Okay. Okay.
Even though perfect in the ring, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He lived up to his
Mm-hmm.
moniker. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, yeah, he had the IC title in the '90s, the early '90s. But once Bret took over, it was like, okay, it kind of just changed it. Personally, I got nothing against Perfect. I love Perfect as a character. He's actually one of my favorites. And I hate to get rid of him, but only because of what each other um superstar brought in their title reigns to the brand, to pro wrestling. I wouldn't be able to get rid of the rest. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just because they elevated it into, they kept pushing it into another level. But yeah, man, unfortunately, I gotta let you go. Perfect.
Okay. 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 And final two. Let me see who gets it next. Who gets it next? Muscle Man Rell.
All right. So my
I know
answer.
which one not going to go for you. So.
Oh, of course. But of course. So my answer, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna say Mr. Perfect. Um, because he should have already been world champion. So I think the other three needed it. I didn't think Mr. Perfect needed it. I think it was a luxury for him to have it. He didn't need it. He was just that damn good. But Shawn Michaels needed it to further give him that step. Bret Hart, same thing. Razor Ramon, same thing. Mr. Perfect, no. He was born with it. So he should have already been world champion. So that's why I'm going to choose Mr. Perfect.
Okay. All right. And last but not least, Colin from DC. Which one got to go?
So I had this. First off, this is an extremely difficult question.
Oh, you had
Extremely.
Shelton Benjamin, didn't you? You had Shelton
Oh, of
Benjamin.
course. Shelton Benjamin is 1, and then Carlito's 2, and then the Mountie is 3. No. No. So no, this was really difficult. Actually, it's one of the toughest questions I think me personally, I've ever been posed on this show. So it's a very, very good question. But I had to do a process of elimination, right? So the WrestleMania match between Razor and Shawn is one of my all-time favorites. So those boys are automatically intertwined with each other forever. So those two, they can stay. So then it's down to Bret and Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
As a character, Mr. Perfect was more interesting and well-rounded than Bret Hart. So my pick to gotta go is Bret.
Thank you.
Bret's gotta go.
See,
Bret's gotta
damn
go.
it, boy. I like the way you do business.
I don't remember a damn thing about Bret Hart's IC championship run aside from Bulldog in 1992. I mean, I know he lost to the Mountie. I know he had a match against Piper for the IC title at WrestleMania, but dude, I don't. Perfect is memorable. He won their I think it was the tournament. It was a tournament where for the IC title when Ultimate Warrior had to give up the belt. So Shawn won the Shawn. I'm sorry. Perfect won the Intercontinental title tournament that Warrior vacated. He had a couple of great matches there. Perfect had some just great matches with the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. But Bret is just a lot of his matches were dry as hell. I know his. I
Mhm.
guess his best match, Bret's best match, was probably with Mr. Perfect. I don't know if Mr. Perfect's best match was with Bret. In the IC reigns.
Mhm.
But Bret, the one thing I'll just lean on, excuse me, is the fact that Bret, bless his heart, Bret's run was not interesting. The most interesting thing
Mhm.
he did as IC champion was losing to Bulldog. So Bret's got to go. Bret's IC run's got to go.
Yeah, I agree with that. And hey, look, put Owen in there. That's what I say. Brett to me was boring. All the other guys were entertaining. They somehow stuck in you remember them. Brett, I mean, other than his matches, solid wrestler. But like you say, his promos was trash. Fight me. What you think? What you think, Jay Will? I want to go around the room, and now we know everybody's pick. We got to have a discussion about this, John, real quick. So, what do you think, Jay Will?
So I again, I really didn't want to choose Mr. Perfect. Mic work, the vignettes, bro. It was he as a whole. His character was just so amazing. And you want to honestly put down to like technical wrestling between the four listed up there. Bret Hart and Mr. Perfect are the best technical wrestlers on there. Now, am I going to honestly choose like some of the better matches that I can honestly think of while having simply because of Bret and the British Bulldogs IC title match? That's why I wanted to keep him. Like I can't. That match was for sure one of the best matches that I've ever got to watch, rewatch, and rewatch again because it was great. I didn't want to make this decision, but Mr. Perfect, man, you got to go. I'm smacking you away like the gum now.
All right, who's it, Quavo? Quavo.
Yeah, I mean, and see, trust me, you know, I don't like agreeing with Colin. I don't.
Mhm.
I can't stand it. But that's why I was in a tough, precarious scenario because I don't like Bret either.
Right. So are you
But that's
saying?
why
Are you
but
saying
that's why
this is
I had
your
to pick.
pick?
I
You're
had to
going from
pick. No,
perfect.
I had to pick Perfect just because of um, you know, how he was handled, how he was packaged, and at the same time, how long his reign was. His reign was only for what 280, right? So I couldn't get rid of Ramon. Ramon had a longer reign. Um, so it's just just those are
No,
some.
no,
Didn't he have a
wrong.
combined reign of 430 days?
No, Mr. Perfect had a combined reign of 406. Razor had a combined of
Four,
374. I mean 347.
combined? Combined,
Yes.
he's at 438.
No, 406. Bret had 290. Shawn and Mr. Perfect both had the same number of days at 406.
You making
Well,
you making my case for me. Thanks. Come on over, Quavo. Let's go. Come on over.
Yeah, join the team,
well, then
Quavo.
let's get rid of Brett, bro. Let's get rid of.
Hey, Colin, we got a defector. We got a defector.
Oh, you turncoat. You turncoat.
Oh man, Muscle Man, what you think, man? You gonna stick with your pick with Perfect or what, man?
I'm sticking with my pick because you gotta remember what I said. I said Perfect, so what everybody else is saying is different from what I'm saying. I 100% agree with what Colin said about Bret Hart, but Bret Hart needed that in order to evolve his character. So as an IC, he needed it. Shawn Michaels needed it. So my reasons are different. Mr. Perfect didn't need it. His character
So let
was
me ask you this. Out of all the IC champs at their peak, which one can you do without? You're saying you could do without Mr. Perfect because Bret Hart needed it?
give me about 5 seconds.
Nope. I need your answer now.
I could do without Perfect because I wouldn't have gotten that Bret Hart Bulldog. And don't forget, he also had good matches with Shawn Michaels that I've watched. So I could actually do without Mr. Perfect, seeing Mr. Perfect as champion in the WWE because again, it still goes back to he didn't need that for me to enjoy Mr. Perfect or for his matches to take over any show. So I think that Bret Hart, in order to really get him in there, because he is a boring ass wrestler, he had to hold the title. That's the only way people really would have paid that close attention to him. He was a fan favorite, but nobody really wanted to watch his matches. Like after about 2 minutes, everybody's kind of just sitting there and waiting for the ending so we can scream. That's it. So
Okay. Colin, you get the last word.
Yeah, I don't know what Rell's talking about. He's talking a bunch of shit. So Bret Hart, his matches were interesting, but no one's waiting for the credits to roll on a Bret Hart's match. That's ridiculous. However, to Rell's point, I will say this. The storyline of, random example, reverse that. Here we go. Yeah. The story of Shawn and Bret as tag team specialists. And you know what? Now they're making their way and up. Now they're singles competitors and they're hustling and they're grinding and they're making their way up the ladder. Yeah, that's okay. You start as at the IC level and then you move on, obviously, to the world title. That's a respectable storyline. That's good and well. Obviously, Razor could have done the same thing. Mr. Perfect, it's true, did not need the Intercontinental title. He didn't need the Intercontinental title to be the perfect champion. So when Rell puts it that way, that's a reasonable thing. But however, I'll just go back to what I was saying. Just the better over in terms of the run itself. Bret's run was extremely dry, and Perfect's was better because of Perfect's character. Yeah, I mean that's just basically it. Bret's run was pretty dry, aside from the memorable matches with Bulldog or whatever. But that was, again, even then, if that match happened in New York or Florida, who knows, it wouldn't have been as memorable as what it was. It was because you're fighting the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, who's from England, in Wembley Stadium in London, England. That's the only reason why it was as memorable as it was. So again, yeah, even then, you could kind of take that one away from Bret too. So I would definitely, one got to go. It's
Okay, yep. I agree with you. I don't agree with that many people that many times, but I figured that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show for today. Hey man, I had fun today. Y'all fellas have fun today?
Always, man. Always a pleasure having fun with these
yeah, it was a
Yeah.
blast. It was a blast.
competitors.
Yeah,
Yes,
man.
sir.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm gonna keep on saying stuff about Shawn Michaels. I like that reaction that Rell's gonna get some fired up. You know what I'm saying? Fight me. But anyway, everybody, we'd like to thank y'all for tuning in. And don't forget, y'all, Royal Rumble season. So next week, we're giving y'all the Royal Rumble predictions. All right, make sure y'all tune in. And it's a 613 Faye production. Don't forget, it's this new show out there, y'all. It's hilarious. Facts. These lovely ladies are out there every Friday morning giving their views on politics, relationships, life, and entertainment. I'm telling you, man. Hey, funny, hilarious, enlightening. You know what I'm saying? Got you thinking. Kind of like we do, you know what I'm saying? Like we do. I ain't gonna say kind of like we do. Like we do. Because we have y'all thinking and cracking the fuck up out there. We know it. And as always, don't forget about my boys, Tone and Cash Gaming Pad Podcast. Man, they coming for you, Jay Will. I'm trying to tell you, man. Get your game up, man. They coming for your neck, bro. All right? They done sent me a text to tell your man to watch out. But you can check them out on Thursdays at 11 a.m. on YouTube. As you know, 613 Faye's out here doing it big. Like them on YouTube. Hit that like, subscribe. And also, you know, we'd like to hear from you. So leave your comments, your questions, you know, play along with us. You know, which one of yours will have to go? You know, which is your favorite Royal Rumble moment? We'd like to hear from you. You know, I am your host, Marshall, Mr. Soul Simmons. This is In the Four Corners of Wrestling, a 613 Faye production. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, lead it to the professionals. Don't try this at home. We out.